Good day, folks. So I finally watched Top Gun. As a fan of 80s movies, I can't believe I never watched it. It just always escaped me. It would be on TV and I'd miss it. I never picked it up on DVD. I'd hear people talking about it all the time. I just never got around to watching it. But seeing that trailer for the new Top Gun Maverick coming out next year just got me pumped. It got me amped and in the mood for a fantastic jet plane movie. And I had to see where it all began back in 1986, the year I was born, in fact. And I was impressed. It has aged very well, I must say. Apart from, a little bit of cheesy 80s music in, some of the dogfighting scenes, the movie was pretty damn good and still was quite thrilling. It was well shot. I mean, there's no CGI back in 86, so all of that stuff was practical. You know, I'm sure the interior cockpit shots were all, in a studio and that, but actually Tom Cruise said in an interview that he wanted a lot of it to be done, practical in the air, flying around. So, maybe some of those cockpit shots were done in the air, but the dogfighting scenes and all that, fantastic. For what they could do back then, they was shot really well. And the soundtrack, like I said, when I criticized that cheesy 80s music in the background, it wasn't any of the main hit songs from the soundtrack because they were all fantastic. Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone, brilliant. Take My Breath Away, brilliant song. You've Lost That Love and Feeling, another great classic. It wasn't made famous by this movie, but I guess it gave it a revival in the 80s because it was an older song. It's just fantastic. Also, that awesome guitar riff. I don't know if I think that's originally written for the film. Just this amazing guitar riff that plays, during some of the aircraft carrier scenes. I'm pretty sure that's the actual Top Gun theme. That was fantastic too. The performances were great. That whole 80s over the top, larger than life characters. Tom Cruise as Pete Mitchell, he was great. Chewing up that scenery every chance he got with that, giant grin and all that. I can't believe he was like 24 years old in this movie. He had so much charisma and screen presence. Man, like it's no wonder that he's one of the biggest stars of all time. The guy had the acting chops and the talent even back then. And, a lot of people would say this is just a shallow sort of, action movie, but it's not, man. He portrayed some good emotion in this, especially when, spoiler alert, his co-pilot, Goose, passes away in that accident and he blames himself. Yeah, Tom Cruise has always been a great actor. I don't understand the hate against the guy. Leave his personal life out of it. I mean, the guy's never hurt anybody, and he's always fantastic on screen. And especially the stunts he does now in his Mission Impossible movies. And man, just I enjoy almost every movie he comes out with nowadays, and a lot of his older ones too. And I'm going to add this one to the list of great Tom Cruise movies and great 80s movies. I mean, it is my favorite decade for a reason. They were just churning them out, quality film after quality film, iconic film after iconic film. Another great aspect of 80s movies is they were so damn quotable. This movie's got so many quotable lines. I mean, far out, it inspired a whole line of car racing video games. Need for Speed. That line, I haven't heard it anywhere else earlier than 86. So I'm pretty sure that line was invented by this movie, and then it inspired a whole line of, albeit car racing games, not airplane games, but still iconic line. A lot of iconic lines. What's the other one? The one that Strickland gives him? Oh yes, Strickland from Back to the Future is he's like commanding officer on the aircraft carrier to begin with. And what's that great line he says to him? Your ego's writing checks that your body can't cash. Something like that. It's a fantastic line. Just brilliant. Timeless. And the other aspect of this movie that I wasn't expecting is, see, the snippets I've seen here and there, I thought it would just be a sappy love story on the side, as a little side thing, and most of the movie would just be, jet plain eye candy and action scenes. But it wasn't. The love story actually had some weight to it. There was so much tension and chemistry between them, building up to them finally, consummating their relationship. But yeah, just that tension, that build up, that sort of, uh, you know, that chemistry they had between each other, that was it was palpable. It was played really well by Kelly McGillis as well. So hats off to everyone involved. Tom Skerritt was great in it. It's crazy to think Tom Cruise is now older than Tom Skerritt was in this movie. Isn't that insane? And Tom Cruise, man, the guy just holds his age so well. And Michael Ironside, always great. I was looking up the cast in this. Michael Ironside was like 36 in this movie. The guy looked like he was 50 back then. And that's not a slight against you, Mr. Ironside. You've got a great face for these sort of roles, these commanding officers and grizzled sort of war veteran type roles. So he was great in this. Strickland was great in it. Anthony Edwards was great as Goose. Who would have thought the ER doctor from the 90s, that's how I knew him as a kid, was great in a fighter pilot movie. And he was like 24 in this too. Talk about a dude that looks 35 when he's 24. Far out. Just, yeah, brilliant soundtrack. Great action scenes, dogfighting scenes. And just, I could see why it had such wide appeal. Even the cinematography was brilliant. The beautiful sunsets, the oranges, the golden sort of, sun shining with the planes taking off and landing, and it was spectacular to look at. The scenes where he's riding his motorbike and the jets are taking off, fantastic. Doing his little flybys and making that commander guy spill his coffee constantly, fantastic as well. And got to mention the other star of the show apart from Tom Cruise, the beautiful F-14 Tomcat. Now, is that the most beautiful plane you've ever seen, or what? Ever since I was a kid, I always loved that jet because it was in a lot of 80s movies and there were models of it everywhere. It was in a few Japanese animes as well. And just a beautiful plane to look at. I'm not a military history expert or anything of the sort, but my understanding is it was a damn good plane at the time as well. And it's just funny looking back that this plane was only about 10 years old or so, correct me if I'm wrong, and when the movie came out in 86, and so it was like state of the art plane at the time. And to think now it's almost 2020 when the new one's going to come out, and the movies that plane is like considered a relic now. It's been retired from service for a while, I think, but it still looks fantastic. And there was a nice little surprise in the trailer for lovers of the F-14 as well, right at the end. So I won't discuss that here. I'll talk about that in my trailer review. But I'm absolutely pumped for the sequel now. I mean, I was pumped when I saw the trailer to begin with, and that's before I had even seen the first one. And now, having seen the first one, seeing the history of it, seeing the characters. Oh yeah, I didn't mention Val Kilmer. Far out. Special mention. He really didn't do much in the movie, to be honest, Iceman, but what a reputation culturally, and what an iconic character he's built up just from what I'd say is a pretty minimal role in this movie, and he's not even that much. I was expecting him to be this huge asshole in the movie from the little clips I'd seen and the reputation he has, but he's not a bad guy at all. He's just a sort of by the book sort of pilot, and very cool and calm, hence his name Iceman. And Pete Mitchell, Tom Cruise's character, as Maverick, is literally the Maverick. Doesn't follow the rules, does it his own way. Flies off the handle. Is unpredictable. So they're sort of opposites, but they complement each other at the end in the final battle. They need both aspects to win the fight against the MiGs. And Yeah, he was just great in it, you know. Um, but yeah, look, it was the '80s, so you had your volleyball scenes and your locker room scenes and all that. But I am aware of the Quentin Tarantino movie theory based on this. If you're unfamiliar with it, I won't go into detail about it, but go just look it up on YouTube. Quentin Tarantino Top Gun. He has his little theory about this movie. I don't buy into that theory, but it is hilarious to watch that video. It's quite funny, and but yeah, it was just the times, and uh, I just I love the feel of the movie. I love the soundtrack, the visual effects, the characters was all great. The script was great. The dialogue was great. All of it was great. And I am bloody pumped now to watch Top Gun Maverick, the sequel coming out next year. Uh, it's a shame it was had to be pushed back a whole year. Uh, I was going to say, that usually is a sign that there's problems with the movie when they push it back because they need extra time to edit it or do reshoots or whatever. But far out, based on the trailer, I was pretty impressed, and that's before I even watched this one. So, yeah, Top Gun was a damn good movie. I give it out of 10. Let's see, I give it a solid 8.5. There you go. Just purely on entertainment factor, it was a very entertaining movie, and usually if it's a movie a lot of '80s movies I love, I get the impression it's just a lot of my love for them is nostalgia. So I always wonder how biased I am just from the nostalgia, and am I accurately, looking at the movie objectively? Is it actually a good movie, or am I just nostalgic? Am I looking at it through rose-colored glasses? But this was a perfect experiment because I'd never seen the movie before, just bits and pieces. I'd never seen the whole thing in its entirety, so I was able to look at it objectively from my 2019 perspective back in the '80s without the nostalgia factor because it wasn't, I didn't have that connection with this movie growing up. So I can see the '80s movies just really were objectively better than what's, for the most part, coming out nowadays. They just were iconic, man. Just so good. Timeless movies. Anyway, I could rant and ramble on all day, but I'll leave it there in terms of this movie. If you've never seen Top Gun, don't wait 32 years like I did. Watch the damn movie now, especially watch it before next year so you're fresh and ready in time for Top Gun Maverick, because I hope that movie's a blockbuster. If it's anything like the trailer, it deserves to be. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. God bless you all. And remember, if you want to make movies great again, like they were in the '80s, you got to vote with the wallets.